You may be sure your husband is not a good father when he takes a plane to Texas just before you are due. It all begins with an apple pie today. When I was 9 months pregnant, my husband left me to go to his sister's wedding in another state. For the past 7 years, I, a 35-year-old woman, have been married to my 39-year-old husband, Michael. I am 7 months pregnant and our daughter is 5 years old. I am here primarily because I need someone to listen to me and what I have to say. Better than anonymity. My husband has always been close to his family, which I don't find objectionable. During our dating phase, his family was sweet to me whenever we met, but soon after our marriage, I realized that he was really close to his mother and sister, like they three have a gang kind of friendship. While this did not impact our relationship as a married couple, I just used to roll my eyes at their gang up, not at me, and moved on. Any social gatherings or parties, they usually sit together and criticize others. Initially, they tried to involve me in their fun activity that I'm not that kind of a small talk person, so I stayed out of it. However, they didn't bother me, so I too didn't bother them. While my mother-in-law and sister-in-law were not that warm and friendly with me, they used to stay away from my lane. I too tried to avoid them as much as possible. I didn't enjoy mocking people on their backs and hugging them when in front anyway. After I conceived my first child, I stopped visiting my in-laws' house. Firstly, I was looking for a reason to cut them off. Second, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law was toxic. My husband was kind and gentle, but God knows what happened to him when he met his mother and sister. He would just transform into a different being. Until my husband was civil with me and at home, I didn't care what he did for those 2 to 3 hours he met his family on weekends. I gave him that space. When my daughter Lily was 3, my in-laws started poisoning her ear, saying Mama is a bad woman, but my daughter fought back, cried, and said Mama's good. She then came home and told me what had happened. My husband laughed at the situation, saying they would have just teased the little girl, but I knew the real intention behind it. Since then, I have never left my daughter alone with those evil women. Things started going south last year when my sister-in-law began dating a wealthy businessman from Texas. It is understandable that she was over the moon to have found such a man falling for her, but why on earth my husband was so excited about that, it really kept me wondering. To give a little background about my in-laws, my father-in-law retired years ago and lived in his ancestral farmhouse by the countryside. I've met him only a handful number of times, and he's a no-nonsense person, unlike others. Probably that's the reason he had moved out to seek peace. A mother-in-law and sister-in-law are jobless, surviving on the rent of one of the father-in-law's properties and allowance from him. My husband also pays his mother a part of his salary as an allowance. I've always been self-dependent, so I don't mind Michael giving some grants to his mother. Coming back to the main point, ever since my sister-in-law started dating that rich man, her attitude changed completely for worse. She considers herself to be a princess, or so. She would often flash those expensive gifts which she got from her boyfriend at the family gathering or any social event. My sister-in-law left no opportunity to show off to everyone how rich her boyfriend was. The funny part is my mother-in-law also had her feet floating. She would giggle with sister-in-law like they were both teenagers. Their behavior got on my nerves, and my annoyance was clear on my face. It's not that I'm jealous or so, why would I be? The thing is, since my mother-in-law and sister-in-law were surviving on a tiny budget, they never crossed their line because they barely had anything to show off or look down upon me. However, with her new profound love, they both subtly tried to demean me and accused me of being jealous of them. Of course, they didn't say this to my face, but I got the hint from their body language, and some of the relatives also confirmed the same. Soon after this, I got pregnant with my second child, and thank God it saved me from visiting their place. Michael would insist that I let Lily spend time with them alone, but Lily wouldn't budge. She is 5 and she doesn't want to be with them. I know some of you would blame me for turning my daughter against my in-laws. Let me tell you, children have better senses than adults. They can differentiate between love and fakeness. My first pregnancy was difficult. I was put on bed rest, but my in-laws never visited a check on me. My second one is comparatively easier, but they visit me often, no, not to check on me, but to show off their new jewelry collection, a trendy dress, or a bag worth thousands of dollars. My sister-in-law would just go gaga over her boyfriend's richness and how they are planning for a grand wedding in Texas and so on. I just nodded with a plastered smile on my face, inside, under my breath, good for you. A week ago, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law showed up out of the blue. They started praising my cooking. Sister-in-law said that she loved I prepared bacon donuts and apple pie. I became skeptical of their gesture instead of pleased. I had undoubtedly fed them the dish years prior, so I questioned them why they now recalled it. They were surprised that I got right to the subject rather than thanking them for their warm sentiments. My sister-in-law requested that I make her an apple pie because she had been desiring one for a while and none of the restaurants could compare to the flavor I prepared. I told them I wasn't feeling well and thanked them. And baking would take additional effort, which I couldn't manage with pregnancy and a toddler. They were not ready to take no for an answer and still insisted that I bake it for her. I could not push back further and said I would try to bake it whenever I felt okay. My sister-in-law hugged me the first time after my wedding and said she wanted it on Sunday. I didn't say anything further or notice why she asked me to have it on Sunday. To be honest, I didn't intend to make it at all. I said I'd try just to dodge the bullet at the moment. As the week progressed, I was so exhausted with my pregnancy and Lily that I forgot about the whole stuff. On a Friday night during dinner, Michael told me that he would be busy for the weekend. His sister-in-law's boyfriend and his family were visiting them for dinner that Sunday. I was shocked at that moment. Everything made sense to me, that sudden praise, request for an apple pie and bacon donuts, and why did she want it on Sunday? Well, I know I baked the best apple pie one would have. I'm truly good at it, but this doesn't mean I would give in to their trap. I informed Michael about his mother and sister's visit and the request for dessert. Michael said that his sister-in-law's boyfriend and his Texas family have a sweet tooth, and they have heard a lot about American apple pie and wanted to taste the authentic one. Michael almost blurted out how his sister-in-law had boasted about herself that she could bake the rest of this dessert and promised to serve his family during family dinner. I was aghast. I told Michael that I was not going to take up this hard work in this condition when someone else was going to take their credit for it, and on top of that, I was not even invited to the dinner. He said I was in my 7th month, and his mother thought I would be uncomfortable in front of the guests, so they skipped inviting me. Even if I believe her intention to be genuine, which it's not, why didn't they tell me about the dinner when they visited me asking for dessert? Michael just shrugged his shoulder and said he didn't know. Michael went to pick up his father on Saturday and said he would return home on Sunday night after dinner. Of course, I wanted to make a big deal out of it and fight with Michael, but I chose my mental peace, knowing that whatever I did would not stop him from attending that function. On Sunday, I deliberately switched off my phone and locked myself in my room with Lily. I guess my mother-in-law and sister-in-law tried to contact me on my cell phone, and when it was not reachable, they sent a voicemail on the landline. I ignored the call on my landline as well. Although I was not at peace, knowing they would curse me for backing out, I felt satisfied that I didn't give in to their demands. On Monday morning, when I switched on my phone, I saw my phone flooded with missed calls and voice messages. It started with pleadings and ended with the curses. As soon as they got the notification that their messages were delivered to me, I got a call from my mother-in-law. Oh God, that was the longest monologue I ever heard. I always knew her true colors, but that day I got to know her bitter tongue. She accused me of ruining their dinner party and called me a witch. Apparently, they thought I would get the dessert, so they didn't prepare or order any dessert because my sister-in-law wanted to impress her would-be in-laws by posing my food as hers. So, in the end, the sweet-toothed Texans had to leave the dinner table without any dessert and a sense of dissatisfaction, and guess what? I get the blame for their disappointment. While my mother-in-law showered me with curses, I could only imagine their funny faces on the dinner table. I was wondering if it wasn't a big deal. They could have just ordered something from outside. I knew my sister-in-law boasted over culinary skills, but restaurant-made stuff could have at least saved them from the embarrassment anyways. That's not my problem. I told the same and hung up the call. Besides all those messages from mother-in-law and sister-in-law, there was one late-night message from Michael that he wouldn't return that night. He would be back on Monday after work. When Michael returned home in the evening, he was silent but not angry. I tried to tell him what his mother had told me, but he cut me off, saying he did not want to be dragged into the situation. He said I should be lucky he was not scolding me for embarrassing his family last night, so I should not expect him to take my stand against whatever his mother and sister said to me. I lost my mind at this. I didn't take his mother and sister's words seriously because I knew they were evil, but what the heck was Michael up to? I mean, first of all, he should have taken a stand when I was cut off from the family dinner. How on earth I'm responsible for ruining an event to which I was not invited? It's been since then, and we are not on talking terms. Neither he nor I have made any effort to talk it out. Although in my mind I feel I am so done with them, deep down I sabotage myself thinking, did I really ruin my reputation by turning down their demand? I don't know, guys, I think they did it to themselves. You said you would try, and as far as they know you did, but you're pregnant, they can't expect you to be doing things like that for them. If you're tired, you can't be overworking yourself while you're exhausted. Furthermore, they ought to be the ones to bring you food and offer assistance. Why should they expect you to spend your entire day standing up and making pies for a wealthy man your sister-in-law is attempting to win over? She is obviously pursuing the wrong person if she feels the need to impress him. Michael has no right to be upset with you since he has some unrealistic expectations, and this guy has no idea what he's getting himself into. Hello everyone, it has been 2 months since my last update. Original post, I'm in my 40th week, just almost about to pop. So, in the aftermath of my last post, I realized that I have been way too tolerant of my husband. Through 2 weeks of that incident, I had to go for my scan where Michael accompanied me. On our way home, I tried to discuss the situation, but he asked me to move on and focus on my health. He was also normal by then. I took it positively that he did not hold on to any grudge, but somewhere I felt this behavior to be secretive anyways. Just today morning I woke to see Michael packing his bags. When I opened my eyes, he was trying to stuff his wedding suit into one of his bags. I shivered at that sight and almost yelled at him, asked him the reason for the packing. He said he was going to Texas for his sister's wedding. I was lost for words. How did this happen? I bombarded him with the question that when the date got fixed, why was I not informed, and on top of that, how could he leave me on my due date? Yes, I'm due tomorrow. He tried his best to dodge the question, or answer them in a single syllable. I told him that he could just not avoid me like that. I was angry, hurt, sad, shocked, all the same time. Could you imagine your husband leaving you alone with a toddler during your due date? I can't express more. I won't lie that I was calm. I held his shoulder and nudged him for an answer. He said that it was planned last moment and he had to go. His sisters would be in-laws insisted on this particular date, and he couldn't do anything about it. Of course, he can do everything about it. He can skip the wedding. While we were in the middle of this, our doorbell rang. Michael rushed to answer it, as if he was expecting someone. That was his mother. She barged into the house, shouting at Michael for running late. She dragged his bags outside the room, saying that he didn't need to pack the remaining stuff because whatever was short they could buy from Texas. The sentence came as if to mock me. I wanted to smack her head at that moment when she smirked at me. I realized that it was too late to stop Michael and fight over it, so I went back to my room, threw the remaining of Michael's packed bag in the living room, and locked the door. I heard my mother-in-law cursing at me at the top of her voice. They left shortly after that. I then realized why Michael had acted so secretly for the last month, and I was thinking that he was just torn between me and his family. I was in deep pain, both mentally and physically, crying out my heart out loud. I realized that the chaos woke up my daughter Lily. She came to me, hugged me, and said that I would be fine and I should be excited because we would soon have a baby in the house. Her innocent words melted my heart, kind of wrapped her in my arms. We spent the day playing in bed. I tried to keep myself distracted, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get over the fact that Michael abandoned me in this situation. I'm breaking down every now and then. I've called up my sister to stay with me tomorrow because I don't know when my labor will kickstart. I had to make this update today because what happened today is choking me. Wish me a healthy and peaceful labor. You literally should have thrown out all of his stuff while you were at it. How dare he? You obviously know where his priorities lie, and unfortunately, they aren't with you or his children. Tate 2. Hello everybody. I know it has been months since I updated. First of all, I'm blessed with a baby boy. Thank you so. Okay, that day, soon after my post, I logged into my Facebook and saw Michael happily posting pictures of himself and his family enjoying in Texas. I just couldn't hold back myself and broke down. It was past midnight and Lily was fast asleep. I went to the washroom and let my emotions flow. I had been holding it throughout the day in front of Lily. I cried for almost an hour. I was on the verge of fainting when I realized that my water had broken. I somehow crawled to the living room and called the ambulance. I have a very hazy and vague memory of what happened in between. The next I remember was being in the ambulance, carried to the hospital. When my condition stabilized, I cried out Lily's name. The nurse said they found Lily crying beside me while I was passing in and out of consciousness. As the house was empty, they brought Lily along with them. Poor soul was sitting in front with the attendant. I was relieved that my daughter was safe. Within a few minutes of arriving at the hospital, I gave birth to my baby boy. The nurse said that they tried to contact my husband, but his number was unavailable. My sister arrived in the wee hours of the morning. She lived 120 miles away. When my sister got to know about my situation, she rebuked me for not calling her prior. I thought I had a day. She also asked me to get rid of Michael ASAP. Since I was discovered in such a situation by the hospital officials, they informed the police regarding the same. Police asked me if my husband abused or assaulted me because they perceived that I was abandoned in that condition. I told them the truth. It was not physically assaulted her, but mentally and emotionally, yes. Michael was charged with negligence charges. His negligence indeed threatened 3 lives, Lily, my unborn baby, and mine. Gives me chills that what might have gone wrong that day if I couldn't call the ambulance at the right time. I feel so grateful for the Lord that He has kept us safe. I was discharged 2 days later. By then my parents had also arrived. They lived 1,500 miles away. My parents were adamant about suing Michael and his family for mentally torturing me during my pregnancy. They packed up my stuff from the house while I was still in the hospital. I too didn't want to stay with Michael anymore. Who would want such a kind of husband? After being discharged, I went to my hometown with my parents and sister. It was almost a week after my delivery that Michael turned home. It appeared from his Facebook activity that they extended their stay after the wedding to explore Texas. It amazed me to see how stress-free he enjoyed his vacation, unbothered that his wife was due during that period. He didn't even call or text me during that period. I also didn't disturb him because I had planned to ruin him and his family. A week later, when he returned, he found an empty house, legal notice of divorce, and charges police pressed him with. He had a week to appear before the police to give him his statement. He panicked, called me 100 times. I won't lie, I enjoyed the sight of his endless calls and pleading voicemails. Soon I got calls from my mother-in-law and voicemails begging me to talk to them. I told my parents about it. They called Michael and asked him to visit our house. He flew down to our house, and on that very day with his mother, my parents humiliated both of them for torturing me and threatened to ruin both of their lives. Michael insisted on talking to me in private. He literally begged me for forgiveness and reconciliation. He started emotionally trapping me by saying that our child needs a father too, and I shouldn't deprive them of happiness. I asked him the gender of our second child, and he was dead silent. My boy was a week old, but his father didn't know he was born. Do you think a child needs that kind of father? His mother, too, pleaded for forgiveness, saying that these court cases would damage their reputation in front of their new relatives, sister-in-laws. But I didn't care. I just laughed at a reason. Ultimately, when they were asked to leave, they insisted on seeing the newborn, but I didn't want their eyes or shadow on my children. My father chased them out of the house. Meanwhile, I contacted my sister-in-law's new husband on social media. I introduced myself as we had never met. To my surprise, he was also suspicious of Michael and his family when they kept me aside from the family dinner and the wedding on the excuse of pregnancy. I told him about everything which happened to me. He said he was surprised to find Michael chilling out during the wedding while leaving his wife in labor. Although it was too late, he asked me about my sister-in-law, and I told the truth about her nature and also about that apple pie thing. He said their behavior was indeed shady, but now it made sense to him. Apparently, my sister-in-law had posed herself to be a chef, and my mother-in-law boosted her lies, saying that they owned a chain of restaurants on the countryside. I revealed the truth that his new lovely wife has never even boiled an egg. He called her a gold digger and assured me he would keep our conversation discreet. I told him I wasn't bothered even if he revealed that I had exposed all the truth. In fact, I wanted them to know it was me. It's been 10 months since that D-Day. My divorce got finalized last week. I got sufficient alimony on the grounds of maternal and child negligence, mental torture during pregnancy, and safety hazards. I got the share in the house too because I too had contributed when we bought the house. I have given the ultimatum of 3 months for Michael to pay my house share or else it will be put up for auction, plus I got child support too. The interesting part is, soon after my conversation with sister-in-law's husband, I got a text from my sister-in-law accusing me of ruining her life. Later I got to know that her husband got an investigation done in my in-laws' family background. The truth was revealed that they were not wealthy as they had posed themselves to be, and my sister-in-law had also lied about many things, including her job. As per the information from some of the gossip monger relatives, the Texans have sent back Andrew's sister and have filed for divorce. They have accused her of money laundering. Apparently, she was stealing money from her in-laws' locker and sending it to her mother. Her husband labeled her a gold digger because she had already sucked thousands of dollars from him while they were dating. I enjoyed this gossip with a sip of wine. I wish the trio husband, mother-in-law, and sister-in-law a happy gossip life in poverty. Wow, I'm so sorry you and your that kind of approach was not and still is not appropriate for children. You are entirely correct. Your kids don't deserve a father like that. I can't believe he departed and didn't even try to check in. He can now snuggle with his self-centered mother and sister, therefore I'm pleased you left him. After leaving you at 40 weeks pregnant and taking a plane out of the country, what do you imagine would happen? Did he expect that life would simply stop and restart when he got back? I'm happy to hear that you and your child are doing well. Congratulations, and here's to the future. A smooth ride ahead. What about you? What do you make of this? Why would OP's ex choose his mom and sister over the mother of his children?
What would you do in this situation? Let us know in the comments. If this story had you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button and subscribe for more jaw-dropping family drama, shocking betrayals, and the revenge stories you won't believe.